Well, we've got some fairly terrifying breaking news in the form of direct armed conflict between two nuclear powers, because it was just reported that India launched a military operation against Pakistan, and Pakistan is reportedly retaliating as we speak. And on top of all of it, Donald Trump was just asked about this in the Oval Office, in which he said, yeah, I just learned about it, but apparently this was like really predictable. People knew this was coming, which begs the question, given that Trump has repeatedly said that on his watch there would be no new wars and people would be too intimidated to do such things. If he knew this was coming, why did he fail to stop it? But before we unpack all that, if you end up liking this video and you want to support the channel, please be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and alert bells before you go. All right, folks, just to provide some context here, here's footage swirling around Twitter of the strike by India into Pakistan. So again, this is footage circulating. We're going to look at a live updating CNN article on this. But first, let's go to Trump. Okay. On this channel, we typically just stick to domestic politics. Again, foreign policy was my area of least interest in college when I was taking political science courses. And again, there's so much going on here at home, but this kind of does tie directly into Trump, because Trump campaigned in 2024 that he's such a tough, strong guy who intimidates everybody, that he's a stabilizing force. And, that Russia would have never invaded Ukraine. That was Biden's war. I just inherited it. It would have never happened on my watch. Trump has pitched himself as being so intimidating that he can prevent conflict between foreign nations. Well, what we just have now is armed conflict between two nuclear powers, India and Pakistan. So here's what Trump had to say about that.
Any questions for Steve?
Mr. President, do you have any reaction to the attacks between India and Pakistan?
No, it's a shame. We just heard about it just as we were walking in the doors of the Oval. Just heard about it. I guess people knew something was going to happen based on a little bit of the past. They've been fighting for a long time. They've been fighting for many, many decades and centuries, actually, if you really think about it. No, I just hope it ends very quickly. Any questions?
So you knew this was coming. Why did it happen then? Right? Because, and again, I'm not going to be charitable about this, because Trump and MAGA are not charitable about this. They try to take credit for everything, assign blame to everything else to people they don't like. And Trump set the standard for this. We could pull up dozens of clips, right? And you just do a Google search if Trump never would have happened, and you will find articles and clips, dozens of them, of Trump on the campaign trail and since becoming president again, saying that, so many, that there would have never been October 7th. The October 7th attacks would have never happened on his watch. That Russia would have never invaded Ukraine on his watch, because he's such a stabilizing, intimidating force. Donald Trump is single-handedly a war preventative. And yet what we're seeing now is the exact opposite of it. And all he can do is kind of shrug and kind of smile goofily and be like, well, I just heard about it. People saw this coming, based on decades, centuries of conflict. Well, there's a mutual exclusivity here. If this was predictable, and you are such a walking cosmic intimidator of foreign countries, why did you fail here? Were you too stupid to stop this, or too lazy? Interesting. Let's look into the article itself. So, India launches military operation against Pakistan. Explosions heard. Let's refresh the article just in case. India said early Wednesday it had launched a military operation against Pakistan, hitting, quote, terrorist infrastructure in both Pakistan and Pakistan-administered Kashmir, in a major escalation of tensions between the two neighbors. Quote, these steps come in the wake of the barbaric Pahalgam terrorist attack in which 25 Indians and one Nepali citizen were murdered, said India's Ministry of Defense in a statement, referring to an attack last month, against it. Sorry, this is a sentence fragment here, referring to an attack last month, I assume, against tourists in India-administered Kashmir. There should be against in here. Quote, our actions have been focused, measured, and non-escalatory in nature. No Pakistani military facilities have been targeted. India has demonstrated considerable restraint in selection of targets and method of execution, the statement added. India said 9 sites in total were targeted. Multiple loud explosions have been heard in Pakistan-administered Kashmir, according to a CNN journalist. Pakistan's military said India struck with missiles. Quote, Pakistan will respond to it at a time and place of its own choosing, Pakistani military spokesperson told GOTV. Quote, this heinous provocation will not go unanswered. Pakistani military sources told CNN 5 locations were struck at Koti, Ahmadpur East, Muzaffarpurad, I'm going to butcher that, Bagh, and Meradike. 3 of these locations are in Pakistan-administered Kashmir. The other 2 are in Pakistan's Punjab province. According to the preliminary damage assessment, only civilians and innocent Pakistanis were impacted by the strikes, the sources said. Yikes. Kashmir is one of the world's most dangerous flashpoints and is controlled in part by India and Pakistan, but both countries claim it in its entirety. The 2 nuclear-armed rivals have fought 3 wars over mountainous territory that is now divided by a de facto border called the Line of Control since their independence from Britain nearly 80 years ago. Tensions have been ratcheted up after gunmen massacred 26 tourists in Indian-controlled Kashmir last month, the deadliest assault on Indian civilians in recent years. Wednesday's strikes are the most significant military action since 2019, when Indian jets conducted airstrikes on several targets inside Pakistan after it blamed Islamabad for a suicide car bomb attack that killed at least 40 Indian paramilitary personnel in the region, 2019, of course, being when Trump was in office before. India has accused Pakistan of being involved in the Pahalgam attack, a claim Islamabad denies. Pakistan has offered a neutral investigation into the incident. The massacre sparked immediate widespread anger in India, and Prime Minister Modi had been under tremendous pressure to retaliate with force. In the days after the attack, both countries swiftly downgraded ties with each other and have been since engaging in escalating tit-for-tat hostilities. India ordered its citizens to return from Pakistan, shut a major border crossing, and suspended its involvement in a crucial water-sharing treaty that's been in force since 1960. Pakistan suspended trade with India and expelled Indian diplomats. It said that any attempt to stop or divert water belonging to Pakistan would be considered an, quote, act of war. New Delhi and Islamabad had also been flexing their military might as tensions simmered along the LOC, with small exchanges of fire across the demarcation in recent days. Both sides have closed their airspaces to each other's airlines. So again, this is an ongoing story. And again, we focus here on domestic politics. The reason I'm bringing this up is not just because it's breaking news, but because, again, it implicates Donald Trump and his foreign policy. Trump insisted that had he won the 2020 election, or had it not been stolen from him, that there would be no foreign conflicts, no major foreign conflicts, okay? But I submit to you, from a certain lens, what we're seeing from India and Pakistan is arguably much more dangerous than what we see in Gaza and Ukraine in terms of global implications, because in both of Israel's a nuclear power, we suspect. Russia is definitely a nuclear power. Pakistan and India are also nuclear powers, and they are the 2 belligerents in this. So it's not just one nuclear power picking on a non-nuclear power or invading a non-nuclear power. This is a belligerence between 2 nuclear powers. That's not good, and it's involving direct strikes into each other's territory. That's pretty dangerous. That didn't happen on President Biden's watch. It is happening on Donald Trump's watch. And again, some might say, well, Josiah, it's more complicated than who happens to be president at the time. And I actually agree with that. I agree with that. But Trump doesn't agree with that. And MAGA doesn't agree with that. Oh, something bad happened and a Democrat's president? Oh, it's that Democrat's fault. Obviously, the Democrat clearly is to blame for what happened in other countries. Well, if that's the standard by which Trump and MAGA operate, then I am happy to effortlessly use that standard against them, which means objectively, Donald Trump is a bigger failure on foreign policy than even Joe Biden. And Joe Biden's foreign policy was by far his weakest aspect. By far. By far. But Donald Trump's own logic of, well, it happened on Biden's watch, therefore Biden is responsible. It never would have happened on my watch because I'm so intimidating. And armed conflict between 2 nuclear powers is happening on Trump's watch. That means we're obliged to blame him for it and make sure there's a political consequence for him and the Republican Party for it. It's my opinion. In the meantime, let me know what you think in the comments.